and welcome to this month's episode of Historified with Annie
and Jamie.
And this month, we're going to be talking about what it takes to run a museum in the winter and all year long.
I think we're going to be focusing, though, on the cold months since that's what we're dealing with right now.
And we're also going to, since it's February, we're going to be talking about love. Let's get started. First of all, thank you for coming back and seeing us. And let's get started by talking about the cold winter months that we've just had, the cold winter that we've had, and some of the issues that we've come across, Jamie.
Okay, yeah, see, I was waiting for you to throw it over to me. I'm going to throw it your way. Okay, so obviously it takes a lot to keep our village going, right? We've got historic buildings, 2 blocks worth. I think we have 10 historic buildings here at Chestnut Square. And though it takes a lot on any given day in the wintertime, it's definitely a lot more on our shoulders to keep our buildings safe, to keep them standing.
And to keep them running.
That's right. These colder months are, they're hard on everybody, right? Our buildings back then, we don't have insulation on many of the older ones. You're talking about, 1854, 1860s, 1870s. So we don't have insulation in a lot of our tour homes, in our tour buildings. Luckily, the coldest buildings, we also don't have running water. So, which is a good thing.
So it's a good thing and a bad thing.
Right.
It's very cold in there, but there's no pipes to burst. So that's good.
Yes. And that's probably why we will maintain having them with no water in there, because until we can actually control the climate inside without compromising the building itself, we're not going to have running water in there. That's a good thing. The buildings that do have heat or water, there's a little bit more of a challenge, right? It's still the same as what you guys experience at home, but there's nobody always in there to monitor them. Our heat stays at certain levels, and so of course, just like you, we're opening cabinets, we're dripping faucets, we're doing everything we can to keep our village safe. Now, that's not to say
things don't go awry.
A couple of things has happened this year. We were not lucky with the pipes. We thought this year we were going to go unscathed, right?
Someone put that out there.
So, and we were not going to have any burst pipes this year. Well, we did. We have another burst pipe in the village this year. It did burst. It's on our north side in our garden. So we do have that. That did
so
happen.
We're going to have to replace or fix.
Yes, hopefully none of you have experienced that, but being a historic village with old buildings, it's something that we have faced almost yearly.
Yes.
We did have our pipes under our Johnson house freeze. I do not think we got any damage from them.
That was a new material that expands, and then it's going to shrink, hopefully, when it thaws.
We did just replace all the piping under the Johnson house. Now, we did lose water in there because the pipes froze, but thankfully, I believe we went through.
Yes, nothing burst.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest problem that we had this year was we had heat go out.
In several buildings.
At the worst time.
The coldest week
that we had,
the heaters decided that they didn't want to work anymore.
We had 3 buildings lose heat.
Yes.
And 2 of those buildings have running water. So it's like you open the cabinets, it didn't make a difference because the house was freezing.
So the Delaney house did not, that heater system broke. Mm-hmm. So, but luckily we got it replaced.
And just in time for the exhibit that,
that we're going to talk about.
Yep.
Teaser.
Right.
The tea. Teaser. This is Brimhilda, by the way. She is going to be spilling the tea with us later.
That's right.
And then our Bevel house heat kind of was on the fritz, but we got that fixed.
Yes, thankfully. And the schoolhouse, we also lost heat in the schoolhouse. And it was very back and forth. So hopefully we have moved forward from that one.
Yes.
And knock on glass. And hopefully we won't have any more mishaps. But that's just to give you an example, right? You get a little bit of glimpse behind the scenes of what it takes to run our museum, of what it takes to keep our village safe in the wintertime. Our operations manager, Jim, he has been here nonstop during the cold weather.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it snows outside. We have to come and we need to check on the buildings, make sure everything's okay, because you just never know.
Right. And we still this weekend we have some events going on, and we still have weddings that we're getting ready for, and other just events.
But I think it's great to give you all just a glimpse of what we deal with here, and the work that goes behind the scenes, right? I mean, you get to drive by our village or come and enjoy the farmers market. There's a lot of work and a lot of love that goes, behind the scenes of the buildings, of the grounds. And in the wintertime, there's just extra care that needs to go in. But what's great is that, you can actually help us with some of this by just donating to the museum. So, because obviously getting heat fixed, we had to have a whole new system in the Delaney house. The systems in the Bevel house and the schoolhouse were not as extensive at the time of this recording. But that, we just never know. And, the weather also plays a role on our structures. So we have to redo our porches. Our porches have been really getting beat up by the elements. And we just replaced our fair's side porch.
Correct. It's as we're filming.
As we're filming, they're literally doing it.
Yes.
So,
yes, it's going to be great, though.
So when this is released, you'll be able to see the fair's house porches have been completely redone. But this is something that just comes along behind the scenes, and you can help Chestnut Square, just by donating $5, 10, whatever.
Or come on a village tour.
Yeah. Those actually, our village tours help support our structures.
Yes, yes. And then we have a major project that's going to start hopefully soon.
Yes.
One of the original buildings that the Guild bought back in 1974, the Delaney Cottage, needs massive help. And so we are about to start that project. And again, you can help us by either donating or donating, I don't know what they're going to need, or if you are a carpenter.
I mean, definitely follow us, right, on social media platforms. Not just here on YouTube, not just on YouTube, love YouTube, but follow us on Facebook especially, and Instagram, and check our website, because we're actually going to be running a campaign to help bring our cottage back. So if you've come on a village tour this last year, you'll have noticed that our cottage was not on any of the tours. And that is because of structural issues. It's having major structural issues. We have water issues in the village that have actually contributed to these structural issues. And so we're having to fix the cottage in phases. And phase 1 is hopefully starting in March, but there is a way for you, our community, to get involved and to help support Chestnut Square and to help us get the cottage back. This is a very crucial building in McKinney's history, in Chestnut Square's history. And it's great for our school tours, especially we use it for that. And you also, hopefully, our goal is to get the community to help us pick things when we get to that phase, because we'll have to repaint, we'll have to re-wallpaper, and you, our community, will be able to vote on what goes in.
Yes, so we're excited about that phase. That phase is kind of down the road, but hopefully by the end of this year, we will be able to open the cottage again and have it be the showcase that it once was. Because I know Martha Schubert, one of the original Guild members, put a lot of love into the cottage, into getting it back to where it needed to be back in 1974.
Yes.
So,
and go back in our episodes last year. We do have a cottage episode that tells you all about the cottage itself, gives you the history, and you can see why this building is so important.
yes, definitely. And so, these buildings built in 1860, built in 1854, the Taylor Inn built in 1863, they probably weren't made to last this long, but we are lovingly keeping them up and preserving them so that you have a chance to go into a pre-Civil War building, for example, in the Ferris House, or an 1870, 1871 house in the cottage. Mm-hmm. And all of the most of the artifacts, I can't say all now, but when it started, the artifacts that were in those buildings in the 70s were donated by pioneer families from McKinney. So a lot of the pieces in our house that we're trying to preserve, they also have McKinney history behind them. So it's very important as historians, as storytellers, as keepers of the past, that we keep those things safe and in climate-controlled areas so that we don't lose them, so that your children and your grandchildren can come and see what life might have been like for those families back in that time.
Right. We've been here for 50 years, and we plan to be here another 50 years and another 50 years after that. And I know a lot of McKinney live in historic buildings, right? But when we preserve them, we're literally preserving them in the original state that they were built. And so I do know that a lot of our families in the community, they live in older homes or just as old homes. But the difference between our preservation efforts and maybe one that is considered a family home is that we're not updating. We're literally preserving the past. We're keeping everything just how it would have been should you live in the 1870s and you walk through the cottage door.
Yes. And you almost expect to see Lucy Delaney greet you
right
in the cottage.
And that brings in more challenges, right? We have to bring in contractors that understand history, that understand history preservation and understand why things were done the certain way that they were, and that they're able to also put in the work along the same lines that would have been done back then. So when we paint by hand.
Yes.
When we literally use the skill sets, the mindsets as much as we can to preserve these homes in their original state.
Yes.
And I think that causes just a lot more hurdles that we have to go through, that we have to check for. So even though the cottage has been off the tour for a year and has been inaccessible for a year, it has taken us that long to get where we are to the point of being able to do phase one, which is diverting the water from underneath the house.
Right, because if you can't divert the water, then even if you fix it,
it's just going to come right back.
Come right back. So we're getting there. We're getting there. So, wow, that was deep.
It was, but it's
important.
Deep.
It's important for you to know. But now let's get into some fun stuff.
We have fun stuff?
We have fun stuff. Yay! So now we're going to talk about some of the heartfelt love stories from around McKinney, and a lot of them have happened not within the village, but many of the people who we represent in the village.
Well,
so the first one we're going to talk about is Nancy and J.B. Wilmoth. We've talked about them a lot, but they were a wonderful couple.
Yes.
And what is an interesting fact about their love story?
So, they were married for 66 years. And when they passed on, they only passed one day apart from each other.
Yes.
So Nancy passed first
on January 14th.
January 14th, and then JB passed away the next day.
And they are buried in the same tomb.
They are.
Yeah. So
I actually
saw
it
forever.
I got to go out to the cemetery towards the end of last year, and I got to see their plot. And that was, I don't know, kind of like
Yeah,
touching, right?
yeah.
Because it's our one of our families.
Yes, they're near and dear. And then this is the next group. The next couple. We actually have pictures of these two in the Delaney house. And
We do.
And I often wondered, why are there random people in the Delaney house that, you know, have their name tag under there? And through research, we learned that they are actually related to Lucy Delaney. So who are they, Jamie? I'm going to let you talk about them.
Okay, I had to use the cheat sheet. Thank you, Annie, for doing all the research. So it's Robert Grant Love and Lula Ella Field Love.
Yes.
And their last name is Love.
Love. So
Aw.
perfect.
So cute.
Yes. They are very handsome. They're a very handsome couple.
Are they the couple that are at the bottom of the stairs?
Yes.
Okay. Because in all fairness, you know, we've got pictures of people throughout the village, and I'm like, who is this?
Right.
Actually, I know now, but
Yes.
when I first started as a volunteer here, I was like, who's this person? Who's that person?
And just so you know, all of this research, I didn't actually like go and dig deep. I did find a lovely letter from, her name was Mary Morris Love Alley. And she actually sent Helen Hall a bunch of information about the Loves, the Fields, and the Strahans, I think. So thank you, Mary. If you're out there, we're still using your information. She is related to them.
Our families or, you know, relatives of the families, either in our village or around McKinney, I love when they share their stories with us.
Yes.
So that's great. Do you want to
No,
tell
you
the
can
story?
do it. You
my
tell
goodness.
the story. You get to tell it.
Do I get to just read it?
Just kind of, it was Robert Bob Love, and he married Ella Field Love.
What a great name.
Yes.
Okay. Well, his family moved to McKinney in 1888. And then they married on, oh my gosh, they married Christmas Eve,
Aww.
1889 in McKinney. And she's the daughter.
And you can just kind of, this is the write-up in the McKinney Herald. So if you just want to read the write-up from the McKinney Herald, it's
I
kind of
would
fun.
love to read. Son, I would love to read the write-up in the McKinney Herald. Okay, so it says, decidedly, one of the most interesting marriages that has occurred in McKinney was that of Miss Lula E. Field to Robert G. Love. Tuesday evening, about 6 o'clock, numerous carriages and buggies could be seen carrying guests to the Jim Field home, which is an elegant, why are you giving me words I can't pronounce? Palatial?
Palatial residence.
Palatial.
We will look that up.
Let's put that on the screen, what that means. Residence situated on Christian Avenue in South McKinney, and on the galleries in the parlor and through the hallways were seen a large assembly of the most cultivated and influential people of several North Texas cities besides McKinney.
Ooh.
Is there really anything besides McKinney?
No.
Promptly at 7:30 o'clock, that's interesting, the bride and bridegroom entered the elegantly apportioned parlor and took their position under a beautiful flora bell wreathed in mistletoe, and the ceremony was impressively pronounced by Reverend B. Hatcher of the First Baptist Church of this city. They were attended by Mr. G.D. Galloway and Miss Annie Woolsey. The bride, who is recognized belle of this county, is beautiful and lovely. The groom was attired in a neat suit of conventional black and was quite handsome. He is one of the leading young men of the city, and for some time past has been in the employ of the Mississippi store.
Yes, so there's more information. I went down a big old rabbit hole.
This is fun.
And so Lula Ella Field is related to Lucy Ann Delaney because through her, Lula is Lucy's niece. So it's so fun to find these little tidbits of how all these people are related and how they go. So that is why those two pictures are in the Delaney house.
That's interesting. You know,
Yes.
it's hard to picture McKinney such a small town,
Right.
right? Because we're huge now and we're
Yes.
growing like daily. And to imagine, and that's something fun that we notice when we go through like the history books and the history that we have in our archives is, you know, this family married this family and was, you know, related to this family because it
Yes.
was such a small
It
town.
was and you just, it's fun to find these little tidbits. And so actually this is from our archives. This is from, you know, it was just such a fun thing to find as I was researching that someone had found that we had all this information.
That's
So,
really
yes,
fun.
So it's been great fun.
I would just like to say really quick. So this also lists what they got in their wedding for gifts, and I'm very curious on. First off, they got a lot of silver,
Yes.
like a lot of silver knives, silver card receiver. But really, what I want to know is what is a silver pickle caster? That's what I want to know.
Yes, exactly.
Because they got like 3 or 4 of them.
I know. And back in the day, I love how that article was written. I wish that more wedding articles were, because you could kind of almost, you know, close your eyes and imagine their wedding happening. But they used to publish in the newspaper what you gave as a wedding gift.
You better give a good
So
gift.
hopefully, and then some of them say, John Cook and Lady. So who was John Cook going out with? So it's very interesting. And then that caused me to go out and try to find this original article.
Okay.
And I found some. I found one from the 19th of December, and they were saying that cards were going out to announce this wedding that had been anticipated. So they must have been the couple around town.
I mean, I remember it wasn't that long ago. You know, I remember you would get the wedding announcements.
Yes.
In the newspaper. Obviously, it was more elaborate back
Right.
then, but it was going on up until with print newspapers up
Right.
until like what, 10, 15 years ago?
We had a wedding announcement.
Did you?
Yeah, in the Dallas Morning News. Woohoo!
Wow.
Yeah.
My husband and I had one too, but that was over 15 years ago.
Yes. So was mine.
So, but I think that's really fun. I do miss the printed paper. I
Yes.
like, I don't know.
For this, you know,
Clip
just-
it out, you
yeah,
put it in
but-
your
and-
album.
Right, and then you can go back and see it. Okay, so then our last couple was another couple that people anticipated getting married, and I just want to introduce Mr. Jess Perkins, and this is from the Lion. I guess it was the Lion. They called it the Lion.
Mm-hmm.
His yearbook from McKinney High School.
Remember what year it was?
I think they got married in 1914, so this was probably 1913 or 1912.
Okay.
So Jess Perkins, and we'll give you a picture of him later because he was a very handsome young man. His quote was, "He who tills soil never wants for bread." He was sergeant of the senior class, athletic association, football manager, captain of the baseball, and he was on the track team, and his nickname was Perk. And they said about him, it is peculiar.
You want to say percular?
Peculiar.
Don't you want to?
It's peculiar.
Because I was looking and in my head I'm thinking percular. Sorry.
It was peculiar. Oh my gosh, now I can't even say it.
Sorry.
That when someone needs a pencil or another sheet of paper, everyone turns instinctively to Perk to be supplied. He is always ready, always willing, and in short, how would we have done without him? So he was a popular
classmates
guy.
need
His
to be more
classmates,
prepared.
exactly,
Okay.
like Perk.
Should we show a picture of him real quick? This
Picture.
is Perk. Very handsome.
In the same yearbook, we have a senior, and her name was Willard Strahan. And she said that beauty and wit is all I have. She was the art and editor of the Bison. It was called the Bison,
That's it.
not the Line. It was called the Bison during this time. And she was also the class poet, and her nickname was Bill. And this is what they said of her. Although unconscious of it, she is a general favorite of all the senior boys, especially of one.
And we know who that one is.
Yes, we do. So here is Willard, and we actually also have a copy of their senior picture with all of their senior photos, and that we have it. It's kind of funny because they put Perk and Bill next to each other. Well, then I found that the newspaper on December 2nd, 1914 had their announcement, and they were united in marriage. Miss Willard Strahan became the bride of Jesse Perkins. So Tuesday night at a manse on North Kentucky Street, Reverend E.B. Fincher united in marriage Miss Willard Strahan and to Jess Perkins. The happy couple left at 9:38 on the interurban car for points north of McKinney for a few days. So I wonder where they went on their honeymoon. They were joined at the station by Mr. and Mrs. W.A. McKinney, a bride and groom of only a few hours. Oh, so previous to their marriage, this couple attended the wedding of Miss Elsie Perkins to W.A. McKinney. So I guess that was Perk's sister.
So they went from one wedding to another?
I
wedding
guess,
to another?
Yeah, or they were married.
Okay.
They were probably married in the same place, I would think. Because it's Perk's sister was married. She became a McKinney. At the home of the bride's parents, Mr. and Mrs. W.B. Perkins, south of McKinney. This bride is an accomplished young lady of many fine personal qualities and will make a worthy helpmate through life. The groom is the son of Mr. and Mrs. W.B. Perkins and is industrious, sober, and honest. Both have been students of the local high school where their records were uniformly good. These papers extend congratulations.
I would like to say it is always good to marry somebody who's sober.
Yes, and uniformly good.
I wonder if the family is still
around. Yeah, I know I've
really
heard
fun.
McKinney. I don't know if I've heard Perkins around.
No.
So, but there could be some Strahans that are still around.
I would think so.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
that was a very prominent family.
Yes. So those are just some stories of the love
I think that's fun.
that has happened here in McKinney. And
Just
we
some of it. I bet you there's a lot of love stories.
there's a lot of love stories. So if you know of a love story you would like us to research, or if you know what a pickle caster is,
I'd love to see that. I'm going
please
to look that up.
respond into our comments and subscribe to our podcast, Historified. Follow us on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And please come by for a village tour. We have them every Tuesday and Saturday at 11 a.m.
Here in the Dixie store, which is actually where we're sitting at today.
Yes, and someone will greet you and help you.
It would be us.
Yes,
most likely.
it would be us.
Most likely.
And also, Jamie, what is coming up? What big major thing can they go see that's still happening?
Oh, this is exciting. So through the end of February, we do have a special exhibit on our village tour. It is our antique wedding dress exhibit that is set up in the Delaney house.
Yes.
It is a beautiful exhibit where you will see wedding dresses from the 1800s through the early 1900s.
The 1940s, I think,
I
is
believe
what, or the
1940s.
1940s or 50s. Yeah. And it is gorgeous. These dresses are so pretty. And we actually have stories from the women who wore the dresses. We have pictures of people in the dresses. It's just going to be, it's It is wonderful, and you're going to want to stop by because it's running just through February. So please come and see it. And these are dresses that have not been displayed, as far as I know, before. So we have been finding some great dresses. And interestingly enough, Miss Mary Morris Love Alley and her sister donated their mother's dress. So we have that information as well. So come on by and see it. Yeah.
Her mother's dress.
Yes.
Okay. No, that's a lot of fun. I think that's something that's really something to know about our exhibits, is that these are pieces that we don't have out regularly. And this one, we are calling it Threads of Love, but it's also a labor of love. When we put on these exhibits, we have a really great curation team that puts in countless hours into helping create these exhibits. This exhibit had to have dress forms specially created for them, and a lot of steaming. You're talking about steaming out gorgeous, beautiful wedding dresses
that have been stored for years and years and years.
And we don't have them out for good reason, because we are preserving these pieces. So this is your time to come out to an exhibit like this to see these pieces, because they will not be out again anytime soon. Now, our tour prices do go up $5, but that is because of all the work that goes into these exhibits. It is countless hours, countless energy and time and skills to be able to put on these exhibits. So it just also adds to the donation towards the upkeep of our village that we talked about earlier
and
in
the
this
upkeep
episode.
of all of the fabrics and the textiles that we have. We have thousands of pieces of clothing, and so we like to preserve them, and we use the best practices to preserve them. So your donation, your visit to our village helps us to do just that. And I guarantee you will not have seen the same dress or the same style of dress very many places, because these are very unique and beautiful, beautiful gowns.
They really are. And so, we talked about donating a lot in this episode, but an easy way that you can help support Chestnut Square is just to share our podcast, share with friends, comment on it to help with our algorithms. It's really, really easy just to even support us in the smallest way.
Yes,
but,
thank you. And just get our name out there so that people know, hey, there's a museum that is a historic village.
That's right. Something really special that we have here in McKinney. So
yes. So thank you very much for coming back and for supporting us. And we hope to see you on our next episode.
We will see you on our next episode.